Amid a crackdown on demonstrators and independent media outlets, Russia is blocking access to Facebook in the country. Following efforts by its parent company Meta to clamp down on state media over the war in Ukraine. In a statement issued by the Russian communicators regulator Roskomnadzor, he said that the decision to block Facebook was made in response to the platform's alleged discrimination against Russian media and information resources, citing 26 cases that have been allegedly taking place since October 2020. Facebook's parent company Meta was also accused of restricting state-backed channels. Mark Zuckerberg fights back by blocking all Russian government-controlled media pages and accounts on Facebook. In response to the ban, Meta's president of global affairs Nick Clegg said in a statement posted on Twitter, "Soon, millions of ordinary Russians will find themselves cut off from reliable information, deprived of their everyday ways of connecting with family and friends, and silenced from speaking out. We will continue to do everything we can to restore our services so they remain available to people who safely and securely express themselves and organize for action." What is the real reason why Zuckerberg blocked the Russian government's Facebook? The problem: Facebook's parent company Meta complied with the EU requests to block Russian-backed media outlets in the EU and made state media posts harder to find in the rest of the world. Traditional broadcast media organizations in Europe are likewise subject to the EU's ban. On March 4, 2022, Russian authorities retaliated by slapping a full ban on Facebook. Some users in Russia who logged onto Facebook that evening after the government announced the ban saw the message, "This page isn't available right now." Instagram, which is more popular in Russia than Facebook, is still operational, though some users have complained that after a recent upgrade, the photo-sharing app is only available in English. Russian President Vladimir Putin's move to block Facebook isn't really about upholding free speech. He has spent years eroding press and online freedoms and arresting protesters. But contrary to what global onlookers might assume, it also isn't really about restricting Russians' access to social media, at least not directly. It's an act of intimidation aimed at bringing other social networks to their knees. The Kremlin's internet censorship agency also restricted Twitter, making the Bird app harder to access. After reports that Russia also finally cut off Twitter the same day, Twitter officials said they could not confirm widespread disruptions beyond the service being throttled, which the Bluebird company said began at the start of the onslaught. People in Russia are increasingly having problems using Twitter, according to a spokeswoman for the social media platform. While the company is aware of claims of a ban, she also stated that the platform is currently seeing nothing substantially different from what it has previously revealed. However, officials at Twitter said they were working to restore service in the country. Russian authorities have limited access to Twitter under federal legislation governing calls for riots, extremism, protests, and the spreading of false information, according to the government's online registry. The ban follows Twitter restricting Russian Sputnik and RT in Europe in line with the EU sanctions. Like Facebook, it's also imposing warning labels on and reducing the reach of tweets with links to Russian state media outlets. Ukraine's Minister of Digital Transformation, Mikhailo Fedorov, confirmed the Twitter ban in a Telegram post and likened the move to something out of a George Orwell book. TikTok, on the other hand, is preventing users in Russia from uploading new material. The short video sharing platform placed a ban while revealing it is in the process of reviewing the implications of a new Russian law that went into effect last week. Under the law, people who propagate material that contradicts the Kremlin's official narrative regarding Ukraine, which rejects terminology like war and invasion, face up to 15 years in prison. Meanwhile, people in Russia can still watch videos on the app and message each other, but cannot create their own TikTok videos. It is still unclear when or if the Chinese company will resume letting Russians upload their content. This law also led independent Russian outlets and some Western news organizations like the BBC to shut down or pull out of the country entirely, eliminating some of the few channels for information not controlled by Moscow. TikTok subsequently announced that it has begun labeling some Russian state-controlled media accounts to alert users to videos created by people with ties to the Kremlin. TikTok has also joined other tech giants by banning Russian state media accounts like Sputnik and RT in compliance with the European Union's sanctions. There are roughly 71 million Facebook users in Russia, accounting for half of the population. Putin has also blocked access to Radio Free Liberty and Radio Europe websites and the Russian sites of the BBC and Deutsche Welle. As the situation in Ukraine intensifies, the actions could severely restrict Russians' access to non-state sanctioned news. Facebook's reach in Russia. In many countries in the world, Facebook is a dominant social platform, and Twitter is a place to freely express opinions. There are roughly 71 million Facebook users in Russia, accounting for half of the population. Moreover, an out-of-the-blue blackout of the app would suffocate internet communication. The same thing happened in Myanmar when the military shut down the social network as a part of a drive to suppress opposition following a coup last year. Although Facebook's popularity has waned amongst Russians in recent years, where Facebook is used by less than 1 in 10 people. Far more popular is YouTube and VKontakte, VK, the Russian social media network modeled on Facebook, gaining preference among users. Along with YouTube, the messaging app Telegram and Facebook's sister apps WhatsApp and Instagram. These social networks have not yet been banned at the time of making this video. Even though WhatsApp and Instagram are owned by Facebook's parent corporation Meta, initial signs were that they would remain available to Russians at least for the time being. Despite its restrictions on Russian websites such as RT and Sputnik, YouTube would agree. There were claims on Friday that Twitter, which is not used widely in Russia but acts as a conduit for information from the West, was unavailable in Russia, though neither the country nor the company acknowledged this. Blocking Facebook is thus more of a shot from across the bow, a dramatic but primarily symbolic gesture that serves as a warning and a threat than a blow against social media in Russia. Because Facebook is so prominent in the West, the block stands to make big headlines outside Russia while provoking a relatively little outcry from within. And now the censorship agency can point to its hard line against Facebook in its ongoing disputes with both Meta and other social media companies that have larger Russian user bases. A significant proportion of Russians obtain their news from social media, and President Vladimir Putin's government has made steps in recent years to limit the flow of negative material online. In 2019, Putin signed a bill giving the Russian government additional control over the internet content, and the country has been testing a locally based network in recent years. Big tech companies have not been so great at standing up to Russia, but in recent times, Meta, Twitter, and YouTube have all moved to crack down and block Russian state-run media outlets such as Sputnik and RT on their platforms. Russia's media ban spree wasn't limited to social media. It included Zvezda, the defense ministry's television channel. With all the media tussle, it's not easy to get a clear picture of what's going on with tech companies in Russia. The Kremlin's directives against online platforms can be vague or confusing, and on-the-ground reports from Russia about how social media and other apps are working vary. According to Meta's head of global relations, Nick Clegg, the punitive actions were in response to the company's attempts to fact-check and label deceptive Russian content. Soon, millions of ordinary Russians will find themselves cut off from reliable information. Much like other US tech companies, Google is restricting Russian state media. It kicked out outlets from its Google News service, blocked them from its smartphone app store, and banned Sputnik and RT from YouTube in Europe. It also suspended all advertising promotions in Russia. Russian authorities have demanded that YouTube ease its limitations, but they have not yet announced that YouTube and other Google services will be blocked or throttled in Russia. In Russia, YouTube is far more popular than Facebook. A survey from the independent Levada Center revealed that 35% of Russians used YouTube, compared with 31% who used Instagram, 14% TikTok users, 9% Facebook users, and 3% Twitter users. Private messaging app Telegram has long been popular in Russia and has thus far escaped the crackdown aimed at other tech companies. Even though the Ukrainian government has used Telegram extensively to broadcast President Volodymyr Zelensky's rallying cries and spread videos of supposed Russian prisoners of war, the app, which was founded by Russian-born Pavel Durov, presents itself as a service that is free of limits and censorship, and it only sometimes removes information. However, RT and Sputnik say their Telegram channels are being blocked in Europe, and Russian authorities have demanded Telegram take down videos and other information about Russian service members in Ukraine. Meanwhile, many Russians are defying the restrictions by using virtual private networks, or VPNs, to gain access to restricted social media and news sites. VPNs are commonly used to circumvent internet restrictions in countries such as China. On the 3rd of March, when the ban was enforced, demand for VPNs in Russia was 668% more than it was the week before the invasion. In conclusion, Russia's building of its version of China's Great Firewall to control the internet shows just how much power countries wield over social media. And it is a matter of serious concern the implications of increasingly squeezing the free flow of information online. This is disturbing in all manners of the way it sabotages the people's rights. Aside from the fact that it is evident that the government wants to control and push out an untrue narrative, some people depend on these social media for both personal and business purposes. But the Kremlin's increasing anxiety about rising social discontent over everything from food prices, social media, to political repression wants to crush online dissent. Can it do it? In this channel, we dive into the minds of the most powerful industry leaders of our world, trying to find out what will happen in the future. Please press that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Why do you think Putin is restricting Facebook and other social media networks from Russia? Are you happy with the way Russia is controlling the war narrative? Do you think that this will have an adverse effect on Russians in the future? Please let us know in the comments below.